Welcome back, rail fans. Today we're up in Owosso, Michigan on a cold, snowy day in late autumn. We're standing next to the Steam Railroading Institute, an organization here that maintains and operates a lot of historic railroad equipment, including a very special steam locomotive for this time of year. That steam engine is the Pere Marquette Railroad number 1225, the basis for the steam engine in the famous Christmas movie, The Polar Express. Today, my friends and I will embark on a steam chase from here in Owosso to the town of Ashley, a few miles northwest of here, and shoot photos and videos of the engine along the way. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. The Pere Marquette Railway steam locomotive number 1225 is an N1 class 284 Berkshire type steam engine built by the Lima Locomotive Works in 1941. The numbers 284 refer to the wheels. There are 2 small ones at the front, 8 large driven wheels in the middle, and 4 small wheels under the firebox. This type of engine is widely known as a Berkshire. From 1941 to 1951, the engine pulled steel and freight trains in Michigan. First under ownership of the Pere Marquette Railway, and in 1947 the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway bought the Pere Marquette, and the engine remained in service until 1951 when the railroad switched to diesel power. Nowadays, the engine has a second career in passenger excursions. Later in this video, we'll talk about how the engine was saved from scrap, as well as her status as a movie star. For now, let's move on to today's excursion, the North Pole Express. The North Pole Express is what the Steam Railroading Institute calls this passenger excursion train. The 16-car train has many different types of cars, including coaches, private cars, and cabooses. All passengers can enjoy a cup of hot cocoa. When the train gets to the town of Ashley, the passengers can get off and take some time to visit the country Christmas events around the town. After a 4.5-hour round trip, the train will return to Owosso. The North Pole Express trains run on several weekends in November and December, and each day the train makes 1 or 2 trips. My friends and I decided to chase 3 trips. That way we could spread out the locations and get as many shots as possible. 2 blocks west of Washington Street is Shiawassee Street. On Main Street of Owosso, there's a pretty historic building, the Robbins Furniture Company warehouse. Founded in 1873, they served customers all over the U.S. Most of the train cars have the Steam Railroading Institute's name on them, but they're painted in the colors of the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway. It's fitting, given that they were the buyer of the Pere Marquette Railway. At the end of the train is diesel engine number 57. This engine will pull the train back to Owosso later today. Our first filming location out in the countryside was North Baldwin Road, just before the old town of Carland. Now we're in the old Carland town area, and this is Carland Elevator, an old grain elevator built in 1874. Our next shooting location was the town of Elsie at Meridian Road. The train almost beat us to this crossing, but we managed to snag the shot, and the sun came out. The next town northwest of Elsie is Bannister. At this point, the train was almost to Ashley. Train routes like this show just how important the railroads were to the development of the rural United States. The Toledo, Ann Arbor, and North Michigan Railway laid these tracks in the 1880s, and it brought never-before-seen populations to and from these Michigan towns. For this area, it could be called the People's Railroad. When the train stopped in Ashley, the passengers could deboard and explore the town. While they were doing that, the train backed up to clear the intersection. In 1951, when the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway turned to dieselization, number 1225 would have likely been scrapped, along with many other steam locomotives. However, Michigan State University was able to acquire the locomotive and put it on static display next to their football stadium. Furthermore, a group of students was interested in restoring the engine to operating condition, and the Michigan State Railroad Club was formed in 1971. Over the next 2 decades, the Michigan State Trust for Railway Preservation was founded, and the engine was restored to operating condition in 1985. 3 years after that, Engine 1225 ran her first passenger excursion, beginning her second life as a preserved steam locomotive. The Trust for Railway Preservation would become the Steam Railroading Institute. The impact of 1225's preservation is pretty easy to see, and not just for train fans like me and my friends. At the end of the layover, the train pulled forward again to allow all the passengers to board. Of all steam locomotives, how did 1225 become the real Polar Express? When the engine was on display, Chris Van Allsburg, who would become the author for the Polar Express book in 1985, played around the engine as a child. The engine would be the inspiration for the illustrations of the book. In 2004, the book would be adapted to film, and Engine 1225 was used as the model for the engine seen in the 3D animated movie. Later, we returned to Carland to watch the diesel pull the train back to Owosso. Then we filmed the train one last time in Owosso. And with that, our steam chase of the North Pole Express was done. Well, folks, that's going to do it for this video on Pere Marquette number 1225. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Feel free to leave a comment and share this video with your friends, and consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. While Engine 1225 may not be a magic train in real life, there is something magical about standing next to a large metal beast exhaling steam like a fog machine on a cold, snowy day. With that being said, that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you all in the next video, and happy holidays.